Now we're going to Houston. CJ Stroud, it turns out, is in fact human. Had 2 interceptions coming into this week. Only 2. One came last week. He has put up some gaudy numbers as a rookie. He's playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but he threw 3 interceptions against the upstart Cardinals. I think it's fair to say the Cardinals are sticking with Kyler Murray based on 8 quarters of his comeback from ACL. He looks pretty good. And quickly, this isn't about the Cardinals, but I just want to say they currently have the number 2 pick. You are taking phone calls or you are sprinting and taking Marvin Harrison Jr. because Steph Diggs, Josh Allen, Justin Jefferson, Kirby Cousins, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. You see a trend there. You get your guy wide receiver, and maybe you have something cooking. But this is about the Houston Texans. Brinson, CJ.
Wait, don't you still think Drake May would be the second overall pick, and you would trade out of the spot, or would you take Marvin
That's what
Harrison?
I said. So you either take phone calls or you take Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't trade too far down because
let's just say there might be a defense that might make Drake May look a little bad this Saturday night at 8:00 in the Carter.
It happened last Saturday in Clemson. CJ Stroud.
He's never played good against bad defense.
3 interceptions in this game, and they still found a way to win. I would imagine, trying to read your mind, you're not worried about CJ Stroud, but what does it say about a Texas team that can win when their quarterback isn't playing like a future Hall of Famer?
Devin Singletary, back-to-back 100-yard rushing games for the first time in his career. Tank Dell is awesome.
You know how tall Tank Dell is?
He's listed as 5'10" on the Texans website, but he was 5'8" at the combine. So
a shade under 5'8" at the combine. He is 5'7" and 165. Right.
Who's taller, me or Tank Dell?
Tank Dell. You taller than Tank Dell?
No, Breach is not. I'm probably taller than Tank Dell.
But he plays like he's 6'4".
He's awesome.
Producer Harry is as tall as Tank Dell.
I guess I have no clue how tall Harry is. I assumed Harry was
told you he's almost 5'8".
I know, but we've never seen Harry in person because he started working in week 2.
For all we know, Harry is just an upper body. He could be max headroom. Like we haven't seen him.
He's only a torso.
I'm guessing Harry doesn't get that reference. Nico Collins, 7 targets, 65 yards as well in this game. A nice performance. Dalton Schultz called a touchdown. I am not worried about CJ Stroud. I think the one thing to be concerned with, and the Texans are 6-4. They're currently tracking like a playoff team as well. I think
let me interrupt you quickly because Breach is the Breach bot 4 trillion. Texans playoff team, Breach. What are the Breach odds on that?
Breach odds are 81%.
Okay, go ahead.
63% at the upshot. By the way,
upshot is way down playing that.
Yeah, more like downshot. Go ahead.
Has upshot even watched the Texans game this year?
Well, the Texans have the Jaguars and the Broncos and the Jets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming up. I look the Texans
coming up.
What's that?
I thought you were gonna say like the Eagles, Chiefs, and Bills. You said game with the Jags, Broncos, and Jets.
Well, okay, we'll get to that. I mean, I guess we'll get to the Jaguars. I mean, they looked awesome against the Titans, and they were 3 and. But anyway, I don't want to jump to the Jaguars, but like the Jaguars were 3-7 in week 10 last year, and then went on a heater. So I would not rule out the Jaguars. If the Texans were to lose to the Jaguars and Broncos, their playoff odds dropped to 27%. I mean, they're sort of I'm just saying, like every team is this time of the year, but the Texans were a team that we thought could be frisky in the AFC South, and now I thought Kyler Murray, and if they win those 2 games, 91%. By the way, I just think that the Texans defense under D'Amico Ryans is just night and day from what we've seen in years past, and this game started out as a shootout. I think it was how many points were scored in the second half here. I think.
Dylan.
6 overall.
7 points. 7 points scored in the entire second half. This is 21-10 at halftime, and the Texans basically held. Texans didn't score in the second half, which is concerning, but they held them to just 1 Kyler Murray touchdown and actually 6 points in the second half. So I think the Texans defense can step up, and they have a bunch of varied weapons. I'm a little worried about CJ Stroud hitting a rookie wall, the proverbial rookie wall that Bryce Young ran into in week 1. And I just sort of like that's maybe my only concern, but he still played well despite the 3 interceptions.
I think he's played well. Breach, I want to ask you a question about this Texans team. Do you at all see any upstart Bengals Joe Burrow coming into his prime in this team?
With CJ Stroud?
Yeah, the way the Texans are playing this year, sort of.
Oh, yeah. Just that they were so bad, and all of a sudden they turned everything around. This is a team that could be really good. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, the defense as Brinson just said with the defenses, that was a big reason why they were bad last year. And they've turned it around so much this year that they are winning these games, that CJ Stroud can throw 3 interceptions. They can still win because of the defense. They can score 0 points in the second half and still win because of the defense. And as the guy who was forced to sit through all 4 quarters of Bengals Texans last week, this wasn't the first CJ Stroud meltdown game. He turned the ball over 3 times last week, which means he now has 6 turnovers in 2 games.
Maybe this is the rookie wall. I mean,
that's where I was going. He's hit the rookie wall, but they won both games, so it's not going to hurt them as much as it could have if they had lost both these games. So I think you just have your coaching staff kind of sit CJ down. Maybe CJ was reading his own press clippings this week, like, "Oh, CJ Stroud's awesome and he can make any throw," and he went out there just turned into a full gunslinger. And now the Texans are saying, "Hey, man, you do what you do early in the season. We don't need you to be a full gunslinger. We're winning games. We don't need you to throw 3 interceptions." So, yeah, I think the Texans feel like a lock to make the playoffs. But rookie quarterback who has a little bit of a gunslinger mentality, that's not a great recipe for the postseason. But I do think they'll end up in the playoffs.
I don't even think he's so much a gunslinger. I think he's actually some of the interceptions you obviously don't want to throw. One of them was similar to the one he threw last week when the Bengals deep in their own end towards the end of that game that the Bengals should have won, Breach. But I think – I want to stand up for CJ because we talked to Will Anderson last week on the podcast, and he made a case. I asked him what were his 3 favorite plays from CJ's season so far, and he spent 5 minutes talking about how CJ's been such an amazing person and leader. And you sort of get that when you hear him talk post game. Also, he didn't know.
Was that like a promotion interview? Or I saw that. That was cool. What,
yeah, he was doing something for Big Brother Big Sister.
How great is that? My God!
But he didn't. Fun fact, he didn't know CJ's full name, so I had to give him that. He was like, "Oh, that's a strong."
Was
name.
He impressed?
Colders Bernard Stroud the 4th. But I think I get some of the rookie wall conversation, but of all the rookie walls to run into, I think the CJ one is pretty padded, and you feel pretty good about it because of everything around them. And as Brinson mentioned, the defense is playing so well.
Well, and you could see it too. Like, and the broadcast was highlighting it. Like, this Texans offensive line can run block pretty well and like pass block pretty well. They have the weapons in place where it's not, you don't have you don't have your Stephon Diggs, you don't have your Devontae Adams. There's no like true like alpha receiver, but the combo of like Nico and Tank and then Dalton Schultz is enough to actually function. And Bobby Slowick's a great play caller. So I think the Texans make the playoffs. It's just these 2 games are going to be critical. Like, if all of a sudden you lose these 2 games and you're 6-6, and like it's like if you lose to the Jaguars and you lose to the Broncos, there's no shade in that. They're in that same category as the Texans. You lose to both of those, then it becomes very tenuous. Given that he threw 3 interceptions and his MVP odds were 20-1, I believe. Actually, they went at 18-1. What do you think they're at right now?
I mean, if we're doing on the Josh Allen scale, it should be 2-1 because the more interceptions that guy throws, the lower his odds are. So I don't know if you 15-1. Yeah, that sounds.
Well, they didn't budge. 18-1 still, and offensive rookie of the year went from -1,000 to -2,500. I think it's at this point that it would be a shocking twist of events for someone else to steal that award.